Speaking of political climates, again, now people are not only threatening, they're not just threatening heels or wrestling events or whatever. Saudi Arabia, the whole country has been threatened, and they are on high alert and putting in extra security measures in ahead of the crown jewel this weekend. So, Brian, what else bigger than the crown jewel this weekend is going on in Saudi Arabia? What would be a more attractive place for a potential terror attack that's going on this weekend? Are they doing a drive-in movie festival somewhere or something?
I don't know what else is on the schedule in Saudi Arabian life this weekend, but I would think this is one of the biggest things. This is something endorsed by, brought over by the Crown Prince, and the Saudi Arabia government, I believe, is the one who informed the U.S. that Iran was about to attack.
Yes. And that's why I'm thinking, what the fuck? So now they announced, the WWE announced that they had a contingency plan just in case there was any, but they didn't say what that plan was, obviously. At this point, you need to keep your movements secret if you're going into a potential war zone.
Yeah, the plan is the only place worse than Saudi Arabia, Florida.
Well, you may have a point there, too. But my God, already we talked about this. A bunch of the guys can't be happy. I mean, I saw a story yesterday, I guess it was now, where that said that there's always the word trepidation was used. There's always some trepidation on the part of the talent when they go over there, and I would think that trepidation has been magnified. But my God, see, I mean, they claimed a security threat at WrestleMania at the LA Coliseum in 91, which was the reason why they moved indoors, because they couldn't sell any tickets. But is this the first time that they've had a legitimate, I say it's a legitimate, credible threat, because when a government notifies another government of something of that nature, you would think that qualifies it to be legitimate and credible. Have they ever had a threat against the whole state or the whole country where an event was going to be the biggest thing in it? That's never happened before in history, has it?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, what do you fucking got? Are they going to have pyro? Would that be in bad taste? I mean, I'm not even shitting now. Actually, I kind of fucking am fucking with them. But also, and seriously, I wouldn't want to hear pyro going off if I was a fan or a talent in that stadium under these conditions. If they'd had pyro in Louisiana in Mid-South Wrestling, I probably would have had a heart attack every fucking night. So what? At some point, do the majority of the underneath guys who are not getting paid $1 million or more to go along with this, join amongst themselves and say, hell no, we won't go? I wouldn't fucking touch it with a 10-foot pole.
They're already there, right?
Well, but no, I mean, at some point in the future, if they keep doing this, if they get to keep doing this, if nothing happens bad this weekend.
Didn't Gallows and Anderson say they would never go back after they left WWE the last time?
Well, yeah, because they were on the plane when they were held hostage, apparently, but nobody will admit that except the people who were held hostage. The time before, a couple years ago, they said, never again, they're back. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But that's what I'm saying. At some point, one time before, they've had a scary situation with a plane that never was fully explained in a satisfactory way to everybody, it seems like, because there's still conflicting stories about it. And now they've had a threat to the entire country from a hostile foreign government while they're going over there to be guests of the people that hostile foreign government want to bomb. At what point do some of the guys, like I said, who are just on the card and who are like, fuck me, you guys want to be General Patton, go march up that fucking hill, but I'll be over here. It's not my fucking fight. I didn't want the Israeli tour in World Class in 1985. That's a big reason why we hurried up and gave our notice to go to Crockett, also to make money. But also when we heard about that tour of Israel, oh, yeah, you're the biggest thing in a country that's been at war for 30 fucking years. And you're the biggest thing on television there. World Class Wrestling. We're all going to go over there in person. Oh, joy. Oh, bliss. And when they got there, they said, all the guys said that did go on the tour, they had an armed, I don't know, there's an army, militia, whatever, uniformed, people with a goddamn automatic rifle outside everybody's hotel room door just to make them feel safe. Fuck you. I'll be over at the goddamn Super 8 with the Domino's guy knocking on my door. Thank you very much. What do you think, Brian? Would you take over that if the WWE says, fuck it, we ain't going to do this anymore, would you take that contract over? Would you go over there to the lovely land of Saudi Arabia?
I wouldn't, for a number of reasons. I mean, the most attractive reason and the only reason they're really doing it is because of the spectacular amount of money. The only reason I can consider going along with that would be just any negative effect on the stock. But other than that, no, they shouldn't be over there, and they shouldn't be doing shows over there, and they shouldn't be forcing these people, whether they're forcing them or whether they just give them guilt trips about going over there. These shows shouldn't be happening, and, you hear a lot about blood money and this and that. But the guy fucking murdered Jamal Khashoggi, and we're supposed to forget about it because Vince McMahon wanted to make a deal with them? Nah, that's all right.
And now Sami Zayn doesn't go because he's a Muslim. I don't know enough about that particular part of the world to know whether that means he's a babyface or a heel, but I assume it means he's a heel. Is he on the outside of the religious aspect of their thing, or what the fuck's going on over there?
I can't speak to Sami Zayn's position because I don't know it enough, but I can say, as I think most people know, there are different types of Muslims. There are people just like Judaism and Christianity and everything else. There are Orthodox. There are people who take things too seriously. There are Reformed. There are all different types.
The North Koreans don't like the South Koreans. So the point is Sammy and MVP, who apparently is of some Muslim-like faith, I guess, he's not going to be there with almost, I saw. So they give the people with religious exemptions an out. I guess they can't make them. They get sued or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
There's no choice. Yeah.
I'd turn to God real quick. I'd find the religion that would get heat for going to Saudi Arabia. If I was any of the boys, right? Find the religion that will get you heat if you go to Saudi Arabia and become a devout practitioner of that.
Have there been any Scientologists that you know of in wrestling?
Oh, good Lord.
I can't think of one.
I don't remember, I mean, again, in the 80s and 90s, there was not a lot of religion discussing in the locker room to begin with, which, suited me just fine. But I don't remember anyone ever talking about it or writing about it or confessing to it or whatever the fuck may be.
No one ever said, hey, Jim, you're a really smart guy. I got this book I want you to read called Dianetics. None of that?
No, I would have thought diuretics were going around the locker room at one point in time,
at one point.
Dianetics. And, and that's the thing. And bless him, George South. Love George South to death. But and he wouldn't beat you over the head with it or anything and, preach as some people do, but he would leave the little Jesus Saves pamphlet in every bathroom, in every locker room, in every arena that he ever went to for the last 30 years. I don't know if he still does it now, but last time I was around him, they were still there. Every time you go in to sit down and take a shit, there would be the little pamphlet with the verse on the front and talking about how you can come to know Jesus and visit at his house, have barbecues, whatever the case. But he would never say anything outside, but he just, leave it there in case anybody needed something to pick up and read. But we worked the Midnight Express during one of the midnight as a matter of fact, it was the same show where I first saw Dax Harwood and said, my God, this guy's spectacular. He's just a natural. And that was way before he was Dax Harwood. I've told that story. But anyway, on the same show, Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey had a Legends match against, it was Ricky Morton and George South, because I get Robert either couldn't make it, was hurt, whatever. And George, for whatever, we're in a National Guard armory, and there's 700 or 800 people there. It's a small town in North Carolina, but it's a nice crowd, but it's, you know, it's not Starrcade. And George wanted to get juice for the midnight, for what? And I'm like, all right. I mean, I can't stop him. And he came out for the match, and he had on the back of his trunks, he had written Jesus. Because he's religious and loves Jesus.
He wrote it?
Well, no, it was printed in like on your tights when you have something written on the back of your tights.
Okay.
Professionally in the letters, like a T-shirt or whatever. He had it done. He didn't just take a Sharpie. But you know what I'm saying? But it's written across the back, Jesus. And so then we start getting the heat on him. I whack him with the racket or whatever. He gets juice. And I said at that point, I said to Bobby, because Bobby was on the apron, I said, you know, there's 6 billion people in this world, but I bet you that nowhere else on this entire planet is a 50-something-year-old man wearing swimming trunks with Jesus on the back of them, cutting his head with a razor blade. But where were we going with that?
I don't know.
So Scientology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
George
about
South.
any of them, but George South is, and then everybody, like 20 years ago or whatever, everybody suddenly became religious. At first, Tully was one of the early ones, and Nikita, but then it was a wave, and DiBiase, and then everybody becomes religious, or everybody becomes a preacher or a proselytizer or whatever the fuck in their spare time, to the point where I remember one time in like 2008 at TNA, we were at not just Orlando at the Universal Studios, we were at an arena. I can't remember whether it was Atlanta or St. Louis, but a big pay-per-view, big for TNA at that time, a pay-per-view on location in a big arena. And me and Dutch Mantell are running around that building everywhere, trying to find the people that we need to find in the matches that are going to go on live at 7:00 at night. It's like 1-something in the afternoon. We can't find a complete match with everybody involved, and we're running around, and there's like only half the crew, if that, we can find. And so we found out later on they had all decided to call, and Craig Jenkins, who worked in the office as like the live event coordinator, had captained this. They found a room up in the arena and had all called a prayer meeting of some kind. It was like for all the believers, we're going to have a meeting where I guess they were going to read the Bible at 1:30 in the afternoon on the day of a fucking pay-per-view. I said, God, they didn't have to get here till fucking noon. They had all morning to go to church if that was their inclination. But they come to the arena for a live pay-per-view, and then they go fucking hide somewhere and read they need to be reading the format. Why'd you make me mad?
Yeah, praying worked. Wouldn't TNA have been a better promotion?
Well, all right, anyway, back to Saudi Arabia. Or did we leave Saudi Arabia already?
Let's get out of the Middle East, please.
Let's get out of the Middle East. Well, we hope everything goes well there, and we're going to be covering that show if it indeed does take place, or wherever it takes place from, or maybe they're going to do it from a undisclosed bunker in Saudi Arabia, but we're going to be covering that on your program this week, the Drive-Thru, right?
I believe so. Yes, it airs as we are recording tomorrow at noon. That great noon start time.
Wait a minute. I thought you meant our show was going to start at noon tomorrow. I was going, wait a minute. That'd be too quick. No, the paper or the premium live event, Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel. We'll be talking about it on the Drive-Thru.
That's right. Indeed.
Well, speaking of close shaves, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, come on.
If you need to get out of town or country just in the nick of time, you want to make sure you take something with you, because Thanksgiving time is coming up. It's time for pumpkins and spice and everything nice. And of course, there can be nothing nicer than sitting down to a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner with your parents or your children or your in-laws or your spouse and significant other, and having the fresh and clean feeling that only comes from freshly shaved balls. And that's something you'll be able to talk to your in-laws about. You'll be able to tell them with pride how slick you keep your balls so that no hair or lint or associated pet matter might go into the mouth of your spouse, that they is their offspring and would not want something like that to happen to them. Because, Brian, think about this.
They wouldn't want this conversation at all.
Well, they'd want to know that their offspring was being taken care of by their offspring's significant other, so there wasn't any lint or Fromunda cheese or anything that gets in their offspring's mouth at a time like Thanksgiving. You want to give thanks for something like that. That's why you want to keep those bad boys clean and smooth and slick and shaved. And nothing works better than the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Now, say you're sitting across the Thanksgiving table from your mother-in-law. You might bring up, hey, Ma, have you seen the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer? That thing has a cutting-edge ceramic blade. It reduces grooming accidents to practically nil thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology. And you can turn that 4000K LED spotlight on and off whenever you need it, and you can shave your balls in the dark. Not only works on your balls, it works on your groin and crotchal area and the Hershey Highway between the crack of your keister. And you'll just be able, you can do road work down there in no time. You don't have to call the county crew to come out in those orange the prisoners from jail is what it is. Well, you don't want them up your ass. You just run that Lawnmower 4.0 up and down a couple of times, and you're slicker than whale shit in an ice flow, Ma. That's what you could tell her. That's why that your little Gladys never has my pubic hairs in between her teeth. And then you get the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Let's say, for example, that little Evelyn, she wants to whisper some little nothings in your ear, but you got an ear hair that looks like, goddamn, I don't know, Bermuda grass coming out of that thing. You take the Weed Whacker, you trim that down, she can whisper all day long. You'll not only be able to hear her, but also no ear hair will be sucked into her windpipe. And also in the Performance Package 4.0, you got the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. And if somebody's nose is going to be anywhere within 2 or 3 feet of your nether regions, you got to make sure that it doesn't, gag a man eating Fromunda cheese in a septic tank of a slaughterhouse down there. You got the Crop Reviver Toner, the Performance Boxer Briefs, although if you prefer to go free balling it, then you can actually use the Boxer Briefs as a nice little wipe. And they give you a travel bag to hold all your goodies, so you can sit down and you can tell your mother-in-law with confidence that this Thanksgiving, you're going to be taking care of everything down there, chopping up your worst weeds, preventing the nicks and snags and tugs and all the delicate holes and orifices. And, some people have echoes down there. And so you can imagine what might grow up if you don't do proper maintenance. And I'll tell you what, those sprays and shower products, and you can find the other Manscaped products, including the signature deodorant and colognes. All you got to do, Brian, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving for your in-laws? Are you going to give them the proper confidence that they need, that you're taking care of your situation there so that their little offspring doesn't have to incur any of your funk?
I'm not participating in whatever it is you're doing here right now.
All righty. We'll get 20% off and free shipping with the code DRIVE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping for the Performance Package 4.0 at manscaped.com. Use the code DRIVE. Don't sit down to Thanksgiving dinner with fungus and rot. Sit down to Thanksgiving dinner with pumpkin and spice and all your balls feeling nice.
That's right, Manscaped.